is Chris Takana. I am 30 years old. I'm coming to you live, not live, but I'm coming to you anyway from Dongjak here in South Korea. I've been skateboarding for, 22 years. Yeah, I started skateboarding, like I said, when I was 8 years old, and I started it because of my older brother. He was into skateboarding and surfing and really good at both. And then, yeah, 8th birthday came around. He's like, what do you want? It's like, I want a skateboard. So basically, I picked it up and never stopped. The skate scene in Korea is getting bigger and bigger. I first came out here about 7 years ago. There was a scene, definitely, but it was relatively small. And yeah, it's been really cool just watching the scene grow around me. I've watched people go from being good to being great. Just the level of the average rider. There's some people that are doing things that I'm just like, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So good. I'd say in my life, there's been a pretty clear intersection between skateboarding and photography. Skateboarding teaches you to look at the world in, I'd say, a new light. You're trying to take what is there and reframe it in your mind to be usable in a manner in which it wasn't intended to be used. So you can have some bizarre slab of concrete or some dirty bricks that have been thrown together, and a skateboarder will look at that and go, wow, beautiful. Whereas your average person will think, gross bricks. The same goes for photography. I mean, photography for me is not so much about capturing that which shows itself. It's about reframing that which you can see in a beautiful or interesting manner. That's what is exciting and fun about skateboarding and photography is you're taking something that's freely available to anybody, but it takes your perspective to see why it is valuable and why it is interesting and how you can use it in a way that nobody else is using it. Skateboarding photography has never been a niche for me. I've shot it before, and just being around friends who skate, you end up shooting skate photos. So when you're shooting skate photography, there are a couple things I'm looking for, but I would say that it's not wholly different from what I'm looking for when I'm shooting street photography or fashion photography. First of all, I mean, I like it when the subject is nicely separated from the background, composition is on point. Something that is really effective is when you use the environment and you use leading lines to create a sense of motion and flow that allows the viewer to have something of the feeling of what the skateboarder is doing. Not just seeing it and understanding it as an act, but to also share in that act and feel it as well. And through good composition and leading lines, you can almost get a sense of how your body would feel if you were doing that same thing. Other than that, as a skateboarder, there are certain things that you come to see that you think are like cooler or not cooler, like if the board's like this or like that, it can really have your average skater will see that and be like, that's a land or that's not a land, or that looks cool, that looks kind of sloppy. You know, so long as the dude's thrashing and going as hard as he can, like it's gonna look rad, like it'll look good. You don't have to sweat it too much. Get your composition on point and make sure the skater's going hard, and I'm sure you'll get something good. With photography, I tend to be fairly controlled. I'm trying to manufacture an image. I'm trying to control the various elements and make it look good. Skateboarding, you can do that, but it's a lot less fun. With skating, if you're just hitting whatever sort of obstacle comes your way, like suddenly there's a ledge or there's a curb and you have to hit it and you land it kind of weirdly, which shoots you out that way when you intended to go that way, and then you have to deal with that thing now. That's the most fun. It's much more spontaneous and it forces you to think really quickly, which is fun. With photography, it's a lot more, it's a slower process. It's more clear what you're trying to set out and do from the beginning. So the balance between skateboarding and photography for me is that with one, you are trying to just ride out the chaos. You're trying to get immersed in it and roll with what you've got. With the other, you're trying to control that chaos and make it understandable and communicate it. I'm not going to say which one is which, but you get the picture. I mean, the majority of my life I spend taking photos, and so like let me have something where I don't do that and simply go get a little bit beat up instead. It's like there's this one very famous band photographer from back in the day, Glennie Friedman. He was notable for like being at the birth of punk and hip hop in America, but he would also go get in the pit. And like, this is my pit. Like I want to go get hurt and dirty skateboarding, and then I'll take photos of other things later.